Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy offering projects, training, and hey, consulting. Check us out. And welcome to episode 150 of the live streamed podcasts playlist over here on YouTube. Hi, Abby. And this one is Trouble Finding a UX Job, and it's panel number 2. We did another show about a month ago with 3 other brave, friendly people who came on and talked about the troubles they've had finding a UX job. So today we hope to talk about this and talk about what's working and not working and maybe get some of our guests some jobs. So before I bring in our guests, a quick thank you, if I've pressed all the right buttons, to the people who are members on the YouTube channel. Totally optional, but always appreciated since you are, they are giving $3 to $10 American per month just for the heck of it. I'm not really offering much in return other than emojis. Hi, Manuel. So, with that being said, let me bring in our guests and have them introduce themselves. They are friends of the show, so you may have seen them in the chat room before or maybe our Slack universe. And again, hey, if you want to join the Slack universe, it is free. Just go to deltacx.com/links and you will find access to the Slack, which again is totally free. So let's bring on our superstars. All right, so we've got Kayla, who sometimes shows up on YouTube as Meow Meow Overlord. We've got I-10, who usually shows up as I-10 and sets off helicopters. And we've got Bobby, who is just Bobby, but has a really interesting background and will be telling us all about it. And Chang says hi. Hi, Chang. So I'm going to kind of go in the order we see on the screen. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and tell us about your background and education. Kayla.
Hello, everybody. I am a UX designer at the AKC currently. I previously worked for a Washington startup, and I have an education focusing largely in graphic design and media, starting with web design, and that's how I found UX years ago, and I really enjoyed it, so I was like, yep, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Cool. Can I ask quickly if your job at AKC is like a full-time job or volunteer or something else?
Yes, it is a full-time job. AKC, for those who don't know, stands for the American Kennel Club. We deal with dog registrations and events and shows and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. I'm a fan. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your brave, kind service to our dogs. Cool. Okay. And I-10, tell us about your world.
Hello, I'm Aitan. I'm a UX researcher and currently I'm working at a cybersecurity company. I have a background in psychology and anthropology. I did my bachelor's in psychology and master's in anthropology. And I've been doing research since I was studying, maybe not necessarily UX research, but ethnography, I don't know, cognitive psychology research projects and so on.
Cool. And thanks for dropping by. And Bobby, tell us about your world.
Hello, yes, I'm Bobby. I have a BS in psychology from Georgia Tech, and currently I'm working on an apprenticeship project with Debbie at Delta CX.
Yep, Bobby's part of our 2022 Apprenticeship Universe, which I apologize has been a slower project than I intended, but your work has been great. And Bobby, did you also do a boot camp?
Yes, I did a UX design bootcamp with Springboard, and that was interesting to learn about the world of design.
But you're looking to focus more on research.
Yes, my psychology background is mainly focused on research.
Got it.
Georgia Tech is a research institute, so.
Got it. And let me ask each of you, because I think our top 2 people, you both have already found your first job, and Bobby's still looking for his first job. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a round of, for our top 2 people, just visually, how long did it take you to find that first full-time UX job? And then, of course, Bobby will ask how long you've been looking, if you're comfortable saying. So, Kayla?
Yes, my technically first full-time UX job I got 3.5 years ago, and it was with a startup in my state I currently live in. And I kind of actually fell into it. I started in HR of all things, and as I finished my education, they're like, "Oh, perfect, you're into IT now." Okay, great. However, my current role, it took me about 2 months of really actively looking and applying and interviewing to actually land the role I'm in currently.
Okay, so 2 months is sometimes feels like a very short amount of time. So it sounds like the role you had first, where you were HR and then transitioned into UX, probably helped give you some sort of experience or portfolio that you were able to show to the next job.
Yes, definitely, especially since I was working on a lot of enterprise applications at my previous job, and now at the AKC, I am likewise working on a lot of enterprise software as a service applications. So I think they really liked that translatable knowledge about that sort of design.
Got it. So it's interesting. In a way, you got your first UX job by being a different role in the company and kind of sliding into an open UX position. That's one way to go. No offense, but you're nodding, and I'm just going to ask you, everybody, to make sounds because there are people who watch the show without looking. And so, as much as everybody is, as much as you have lovely animated faces, I'm going to ask for sounds as well for the people who are not looking at the screen. We have some people who say, "I love to listen when I walk my dog. I'm not looking." Which is usually why I have people spell their names and things like that. Aitan, let's tell your story a little bit because I think we were all watching it in the Slack channel, because that's how long we've known you. You got your master's degree in anthropology and then you were looking for a job for a while.
Yeah, I think my story is a bit similar to Kayla's because when I was studying, I was already working, but the thing is I started with an internship and I was not doing a UX work while I was interning. So my title was like community manager or something like that. And then after I finished my internship, I started working full time there, and I was doing research a bit there, but it was not a very well established UX researcher position. I was just doing research because I wanted to do, but nobody else was doing research. I was the first one, and so on. And then I quit that job. I graduated, I quit that job. Then I started looking for a specific UX researcher position. And it took me for about a year to get a job I wanted. Sometimes I partly blame the pandemic for it because the year I graduated, the pandemic started. But I'm not sure. Maybe it would still take a year even if there was not a pandemic.
Yeah, quite possible. And that's something that I want to stress for people who are struggling with their job search, that even with a master's degree and being a nice, friendly, capable person as Aitan is, it still took her a year to find that job. And I know for many
Yeah.
people it's taking a year or two or more, and it's just unfortunately ugly out there. Bobby, tell us more about your story. Did you happen to do an internship when you were still getting your bachelor's?
I did not do an internship. I did work in a lab at Tech, in the cognitive ergonomics lab, and just kind of human factors. And though it has taken me about 3 years, still looking to get my first full time role as a UX researcher. And yeah,
Are you still actively applying? Have you been taking a break?
yeah,
Still
I'm
actively.
still actively applying and having recruiters reach out to me, and of course doing interviews and stuff. But just
So
haven't
you have
gotten.
been getting some interviews.
Yeah, it's
That is a good
just
sign.
yeah, it's just a lot of the time I get feedback that they want somebody with more experience, which is kind of frustrating because if I would have gotten a job earlier, I would have the experience by now. But
Exactly. How do you get experience when you can't get experience? How is this supposed to happen? We know the system is broken, and I'm certainly hoping that whatever you can do in the apprenticeship with us will be something glamorous you can put on your portfolio and help you get to that next step. So, now when you were so I'll ask each of you, When you were looking for jobs, did you find that there was anything that you were doing that made it more likely for you to get an interview or less likely? Like, did you find, oh, this thing works or this thing doesn't work? Can any of you think of anything where during your search you happened to notice something that seemed to work for you or make it more likely that you got that interview? Anybody?
I think,
Yes.
yeah.
Sorry, Etienne, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it's applicable to everybody, and I don't think it's something that everybody would want to do. But when I was applying for a job, I think the reason why I was getting interviews more was because I was applying literally anywhere in the world. So I guess it's a bit different if you are in one country and only want to work in a specific country or city. So the chances are pretty low. But I was literally applying from Spain to Chile, I don't know, Japan, anywhere that I saw UX research position, like I applied. I didn't really care like where, which country or city I worked. So I think that helped, but as I said, I don't know if it's something that people would want to do.
And we should point out that you did move country to get the job you've been at. You left
Yeah,
your
yeah,
home country and you went to another continent, basically.
yeah, true. That's true. But other than that, I don't know. The fact that I had a degree in psychology and anthropology actually helped a lot because if you pay attention to specific, I don't know about UX design because I never applied to a UX design position, but if you pay attention to the job descriptions about UX research, they usually mention that they would like you to have a background in human computer interaction, anthropology, ethnography, psychology. So I think that also helps.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I do think that many research jobs, while we know you don't have to have a degree to work in UX, especially for research, it does seem to sometimes help. Kayla, what about you? Did you notice anything that seemed to help your search or hurt your search?
Yes. For one thing, I found that being really active on LinkedIn got me a lot of exposure, particularly to recruiters, which is actually how I found my current job. A recruiter reached out to me just because I was so active and visible on there. Another thing that got me at least a lot of interviews, or at least it appeared that way, is when I submitted applications, I would tweak the visuals of my resume a little bit to kind of match the branding or the colors of the company I was applying. And I noticed that once I did that, I got a lot more interviews. So,
That's wild. That's really interesting. So your resume was black and white, but when you sent it to a company who's blue and orange, you sent them a blue and orange resume?
yep. And,
Wow.
tastefully so, but it seemed to work. And yeah.
That's really interesting. I've never even thought of anything like that. And Dennis is writing in. Hi, Dennis. Good to see you. Dennis on LinkedIn says practice interviews and specifically the ability to tell a story about your portfolio and behavior interviewing is key. Someone is asking if Ayten is Turkish. I hope that doesn't insult. Some people are insulted when people guess the wrong country. Like, do not
Oh,
ask an
no,
Irish
no.
person if they are British. Ayten, do you want to tell people where you're from?
No, yeah, I get that a lot because my name is a Turkish name. No, I'm from Azerbaijan.
Okay, thank you. Megan says that's a neat way to stand out from the crowd, and what a cool idea, says Jamie. Yeah. Bobby, have you noticed anything working specifically well or not well for you? Like, have the recruiters been helpful?
I would say definitely one thing I've noticed that it works very well is, of course, to like change your resume to fit the words that the recruiters are using. As long as you have actually done that stuff, of course, and you're not lying on it. But yeah, if you change the wording to what they actually use in the job description, it will help a lot as far as because the ATS systems, then also people seeing the same words that they use as well. Then also it makes it a lot easier for the recruiters to see, oh yes, these words match. They're good.
That's a
sort of
good
thing.
point. I
So
saw someone post about that on LinkedIn this week saying, like, hey, it's really important for you to go into a job description, find some of their keywords or methodologies or name tools, whatever they're using, and make another version of your resume that says that so that the ATS will see it as a closer match. So I think that is, it's a lot of work, and so is changing your colors, but I think these are good advice. And we had a question come up from Larry Marine, and he wants to know, what is one thing you did that was out of the ordinary that seemed to work? Besides printing your resume in company colors, does anybody think they've done anything in particular with the application or cover letter or interview that seemed to help? Kayla?
As far as like out of the ordinary, I can't say it's anything super unique, but also the actual content of my resume, making sure that it was kind of very achievement orientated. I noticed that not just a job description, companies really wanted to see like, oh, you helped increase the valuation of this company to $30 million with the application of this software. And I know with a lot of stuff, it's sometimes hard to find those metrics. So
Right.
I admit some of them were estimates, as close as I could come, but I
Yeah,
have
showing
confidence
that
behind those
impact.
estimates.
Yeah,
Something.
showing that impact is always, always stronger than saying, like, I did a thing. If you can say, I did a thing and here's the outcomes or impact it has, I think that is always an attention grabber. So that's a good tip, of course, where you have or can estimate those numbers. And if you're estimating, you might want to write estimated so that we're not lying. I-10, any secret tricks from you?
If it's up until getting the interview, one thing I did, I know a lot of people are against cover letters, but I love them because first I like writing, and second, because that's the only place actually before the interview I can explain myself as a person and show like if I really like the company and why I want to work there. Somebody once told me that a cover letter is a love letter you write for the company and show like if you're a good match or not. So at some point, oh, hearts. At some point, I stopped applying to every single UX researcher position in every single company and just started filtering out the companies I really want to work for or their UX maturity level and so on. So when I didn't have like 100 applications to send a week, so I had time to write a cover letter for each of them. And it didn't matter if company was asking for a cover letter or not. I always attached it somewhere. Even if they didn't have a place like upload your cover letter, I would write it on my Google Doc, take the link and like paste it somewhere so that if they want, they can open and read. So I think that helped a lot. At some point, I even prepared a presentation about myself and why you should choose me, and like and I added like small silly details about myself, like I don't know, I'm a cat person and I like my wine red, blah blah blah. And I got a lot of compliments actually from HRs for that because not everybody was doing it, so it helped me to stand out.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Larry, we'll get back to Larry's other question in a moment after we talk to Bobby. But Larry's also saying, by the way, I've seen the opposite effect where people didn't believe my successes. I might suggest being somewhat humble and conservative in describing your successes. Make sure they are believable. Yeah, I don't know if everybody saw that moment on LinkedIn where I posted the review my book got on Amazon, where someone gave my book 1 star because they didn't believe my bio. So that's yeah. I thought I was being humble. Oh, thank you, I-10. Thank you very much. I-10's promoting my book. Thank you. I'm still not paying you for this show. Bobby, what about you? Are you trying anything that might be considered out of the ordinary?
not really. I think, though it depends on who you ask. I think probably networking a lot with, especially networking groups, like I guess like this community here, and also on like local groups as well, can be very useful for at least getting an idea as to what is going on in the area that you're looking for, and also just just get to meet people and get to know more be able to talk with them about stuff behind the scenes that's not always quite on the front page of their website. Because yeah, and also they can also vouch for you as well if you're nice enough with them and not really specifically being like, I want a job at your company when you first meet them.
Right. Hi, nice to
You
meet
gotta,
you. Get me a job.
yeah.
I find that to not work. Dennis is saying, I research the companies I interview with, develop talking points specifically about how I can add value to the team. I also research the people I will be speaking to. I also use the word team instead of I. All right. And I wanted to mention that one thing that I do that's a little out of the ordinary is on my resume, I have a little graphic and it's got a little timeline from my career. Now, because it's a graphic, the ATS systems will ignore it, and that's fine. But I can tell when someone has actually looked at my resume because the graphic is so funky. Usually it's designed to be a conversation starter. So I have this timeline of my career, but it's not typical things on the timeline. It's like, this was the year that eBay told me I was too innovative. And this is the year that this funky thing happened, and this is the year that Seth Godin wrote about me in his book. So it's basically like this wacky view of my career, and the ATS system's ignored, but I can tell which recruiters have actually looked at my resume because almost always someone will say to me, oh, I really want to talk to you because tell me about Seth Godin writing about you, or tell me about that time eBay told you were too innovative. Like, I use it as a conversation starter. Now, of course, if it goes through the ATS, no one sees it and there's no conversation starter. But I found that for the people who do look at the resume, they are super curious. And I think sometimes that has helped. And it doesn't hurt me because as a graphic, it's ignored by the ATS. So it's not like it's killing my resume. Chang says, I second Dennis's suggestions. Let's go back to a question Larry asked. He said, what tips or feedback have you received that you think don't work, such as changing your resume every time a recruiter gives you feedback? Or maybe you did that and it did work. Anybody getting any not so great advice? Did someone suggest something that kind of didn't work or backfired? Kayla?
Perhaps nothing that was so much a suggestion, but I did try one of those like online ATS readers, and I realized that they gave absolutely bogus results because they wanted you to buy their software. I figured that out after going through it a couple times and realizing this is fake. This is not legit. So.
And I also wonder if those so-called resume checkers are really just scraping everybody's information, and you're going to end up in a database and people are going to email you about who knows what or jobs or whatever. So yeah, that's a good point. Look out for some of those. We'll tell you how your resume is going to do in the ATS thing. And yeah, good point. I-10, anything that you found to be a little suspicious or bad advice?
I think I'm a bit unlucky when it comes to this because the recruiters barely give me any feedback after they reject me. But I have one funny feedback actually. When I was in Sweden and I was applying for jobs specifically in Sweden, a lot of recruiters actually recommended me to change my name on the resume because to change it to a Swedish name because they said that if I don't have a Swedish name, that they don't even look at my resume, and they just, if they see a Swedish name on the opposite, they will at least read my resume. Obviously, I didn't do that, but yeah, that was one weird advice.
Yeah, I don't recommend that anybody change their name for any reason, and especially it's unfortunate. I've seen stories on LinkedIn where people said, oh, if I made my name sound more white or Anglo-Saxon or stereotypical whatever, then I got the interview. And obviously that's just racism, no two ways about it, and awful every time, and those companies should be exposed. So good for you for sticking to your guns. Did you come up with a Swedish name, by the way?
I once did a BuzzFeed quiz, like what would be your Swedish name, and I think it was something like Christina or something. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But my thinking was that if this company doesn't want to hire me or doesn't want to read my resume just because of the name, do I really want to work for them with this kind of people? Probably not.
Exactly. Yes, but it's hard to think of you as like Anna Fried or
I
I'm gonna
know
get.
it doesn't even. My
I mean,
Starbucks
I'm
name
just
is
going to give you all the names
Sandra.
of the women from ABBA and Agneta or whatever her name was.
No, no. But my Starbucks name is Sandra, so I think it fits me a bit.
My Starbucks name is Decaf Debbie. So they
Perfect.
remember
Nice.
to give me decaf because I'm allergic to caffeine. Bobby, any bad advice, especially since you're still in the job hunt? I would imagine you see some pretty suspicious advice. Anything you've noticed?
uh, Nothing really I don't think of as really bad advice, but what I like to take more of approach of is if I hear it from multiple people, I'm more likely to see it might have more value than if it's just one person saying something like, "Oh, you need to sign up for this course or whatever." But really, it really depends on what angle they're coming from, what their background is as well, and because they're going to have a limited sample size as well, so it's best not to just take everybody's word for it, because then you'll be chasing everything and you'll probably get nowhere
Yeah, you'll keep
and
chasing.
have worked all that much for not much.
Oh, but before I tell my story, Aitan is kindly raising her
Yeah.
hand. Yes.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't like nobody personally gave me this advice, but I see this advice all the time on LinkedIn. Like people say, don't be afraid, contact recruiters directly, add them on LinkedIn, or like even if you don't see the position, send a message to the company. I don't know, try to arrange call with a recruiter, and I just think it's just annoying people like recruiters. And 9 out of 10 times, I don't think that works. And I always try not to do it because at the end of the day, if there is a position and if there are requirements and responsibilities, unless something is unclear for me, I would never recommend anybody to contact recruiter directly just so, oh, maybe they will remember my name when they go through applications or something. That just sounds absurd.
Yeah, they can't remember
And
3,000 of us. Maybe that worked
Yes.
some years ago when UX was a much smaller world, but with almost, 300,000 people signed up for Google Coursera, there's no way I expect a recruiter to remember me. I used to expect that, now I don't. I do want to tell a story along these lines if people don't mind my stories. When I first moved to San Francisco and I was looking for my first real UX job because I'd always been a consultant, I had a website, and you can even, if you get bored, we can find it in the Wayback Machine for those of you who know archive.org. I had a website that looked like an annotated wireframe. I thought that would be a clever website design, would be to have content on the site and then like post-it notes off to the side with like annotations and stuff. And I thought that kind of stressed what I do. And I spoke to some recruiters in trying to find my first job. And a few of them, not all of them, but a few of them said, your website is stupid. Your website is like really goofy and weird, and your website doesn't look like the other websites we see from UX designers. So we think you need to change your website and make it look like everybody else's so that you look like a UX designer. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, because this is who I am, and I'm a little bit funky, and I'm a little bit silly, and the right company will want that. I don't want to have to turn myself into vanilla with vanilla on top just because you think that'll help me get the job. Because once I show up, they're going to see I'm not vanilla. So no, thank you. And these recruiters in some cases refuse to work with me because they're like, I can't send people this website. This is ridiculous. And so, wah, wah. So, I think between that and name changes, it's just important to stick to your identity, unless, as Bobby might say, you're hearing it from enough people that you think it might be. If every single recruiter said my website was stupid, maybe I'd have to be like, oh, it's me. But it was like two or three of them. It was two of them, I think. And I was just like, F you. This is who I am, and I've got a funky website, and my website stands out. Now we're all asking each other, how can I stand out? And then they're telling me I'm standing out too much. So can you ever win? Ugh, it hurts. Here's a good question. Jamie posted before, one thing I've always found works well after the interview is to reach out to everyone you interacted with, thank them for their time, ask them personally for advice. I got a mentor this way. Let's go around the fake room and ask, do you send thank you notes to HR, to the people you interviewed with afterwards? Do you follow up with them? Kayla, what was your approach?
Yes, I would always send a thank you note, generally to like the recruiter who connected me, the person who interviewed me, if I had their contact information, which usually they would be like CC'd on the email. Sometimes I couldn't find it though, but most of the times I could, and I would usually send a thank you. I would, if I was rejected, ask for advice as why. I never actually got a response to any of those times, but I still feel it's polite to send a thank you.
Okay. Aitan, you're doing the polite thank yous?
I used to. I'm not that polite anymore, but I used to do back
You're
in
like,
the
what?
days
You
when I was
rejected
young.
me? I will haunt you in your
No,
sleep.
but no, but this is one of those things that I mentioned before. Like all people are suggesting to reach out to recruiters before the interview. Now everybody's suggesting to send thank you notes after the interview, and I feel like because now everybody's doing it, it's getting annoying, and I just stopped doing it at some point. I send them email if like we talked about something, and I want to remind them something about it. Like, for example, once I was interviewing for a company for UX researcher position, and at the end of interview, they asked me, so what do you do, or like outside of work, how do you improve your research skills or something like that? And I mentioned one of the books I really, really liked about face. And then after the interview, and I didn't have that book with me, so I couldn't show them. But after the interview, I found this book on Amazon. I sent the link and I was like, hey, this is the book I was talking about. Maybe you want to buy and, just check it. And yeah, that made sense for me because we talked about it and it came, naturally. But just sending a thank you note, I don't do that anymore. I'm not polite anymore.
You're like, two wines. After two wines, maybe I'll send you a drunk text.
Yeah.
Right. White wine today. Bobby, what about you? Are you doing the polite thank yous?
Not really. My mom tells me, oh, you got to send a thank you note to everybody you talk to ever. I'm like, that might be a bit much to people, but I do, like, if I have something that I want to tell them or I want to follow up on something, like what Aitan said about, like, like you talk about something and you want to share with them what something to reinforce what you talked about or just more detail about it, then yes, I'll follow up. Then
I do suggest the thank yous. Am I still making sound?
yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay. I thought I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, so Itzy is asking, would you send thank you notes after a phone screen with a recruiter or only second or third interviews? I actually send thank you notes for all of them because I'm grateful for everybody's time. And very often, even with the phone screen or the other one, sometimes, as Bobby said, there's some reason for us to catch up. Like, oh, here's that fresh copy of my resume, or here's that link I told you I'd send you. Like, I think sometimes we have a good reason to continue that conversation with that person. And so I would say I'm sending thank yous to everybody, even recruiter phone introduction. Thank you, grateful for your time. Great to speak with you. Please let me know what the next steps are. I-10.
One thing that I remembered, yes, if this is a company I really, really, really want to work for, like I'm dying to get hired, something that I did in the past after not after first interview, maybe after the second or third interview, when I have enough information about the company and what they expect from a UX researcher, I create a 30, 60, and 90 days plan what I would do, like first 30 day of my job as a UX researcher, 60 day and 90 days. I don't do it for every single company. If it's a company I'm dying to work for, like they're my heroes,
Dream
I
list.
do that. Exactly. I did it for 2 companies so far, and they were really, really happy about it. Both HR and other people I talked to, like product owners, designers, they told me that nobody ever did anything like that.
Did you get an offer?
Yes, I did. It was my
Aha!
like
Nice.
soon to be employer, and thank you, thank you.
Well, that sounds like a lot of work, but it does sound like if
Yeah.
it's a select few companies, it's something that you can, and you're already on that second or third interview, and it's looking pretty good. Excuse me, I'm probably going to sneeze. Anybody have something to add
Bless
to that
you.
while I sneeze? Live show.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, I think it's time to switch to allergy medicine. Hi.
Oh.
Not sponsored.
Allergy medicine segment here.
Exactly, right. Are you tired of sneezing during your own live show? Try this stuff. Okay, not sponsored. Kayla, I don't want to leave you out. Anything you want to add to this wackiness? With thank you notes.
I suppose there have been some like phone screens that just left a really sour taste in my mouth that I didn't send a thank you for because it was just like, I never want to talk to you again. Thank you.
Totally
very much.
agree.
Fortunately, that didn't happen very often, but
Yeah.
still. I also really like ITAN's suggestion of, kind of putting forward a roadmap of what you do, like kind of once you're established, like the second or third interview, and like you really want to work there, to kind of put your best foot forward and be like, hey, this is how I can add value to the company. And I believe there was a comment earlier in the show. Someone said like, hey, I want to really promote what value I'm going to add to the company if they hire me. And I think that's
Right.
a wise approach.
Yeah, just remember you don't want to make it seem like you're doing work for free. It should really be about what you can do for the company, not like, hey, I looked at your website and here's some changes we should make. Now you're accidentally doing some free consulting. So, Bobby, hearing some of this advice, do you think you're going to try some new stuff after today?
Yeah, definitely. Because I guess my main thing is fear of being a burden, that sort of thing. So that's the main thing that's been holding me back, because I don't want to bother people too much. But since I hear that people get good response from it, then yeah, I'll try it.
And I think that there's bothering and there's bothering. I think if we're doing a lot of interviewing where I'm consulting right now, and when people send me just a 1 or 2 line email after the interview, thank you for your time. It was great to meet you. I look forward to hearing from you as you go through the hiring process. Like, I don't feel bothered by that. But there are certainly some weird emails we've gotten. But mostly we're getting friendly emails. The weird emails are really people, and I think we touched on this a little bit before, people who are applying for jobs that they're really not qualified for. That's, a pretty awkward situation, because we had a job open for a senior researcher with 5+ years of work experience, and I got a couple of applications of people fresh out of boot camps with no experience. And my thought was, am I missing something? Like, do you, like, I spent minutes staring at the screen, like, what's the polite way to say, do you think you're qualified for this? Because this is weird. Now I have to reject you, but like, and people were writing back like, but I'm a hard worker. And I'm like, 5+ years of experience.
Yeah. Though I have had, from my view, I've had times when I've been approached by a recruiter about a job with 5+ years of experience, and they tell me to apply anyway. But what I end up finding out sometimes is that the company is just looking for just people.
Humans.
That's just what they put out, asking for 5+ years of experience. and they're really looking to build a team, but they just put one requisition out for all the people they can get, which then it makes sense to apply for, but I generally don't apply if it just says senior or 5+ years of experience. Though sometimes maybe if it's 5+ years of research experience and not just UX research experience, then maybe.
Yeah, 5+ years of breathing. Like, I don't know. That seems a little strange. Let me ask you three, since this is something that's come up in our Slack channel lately. And by the way, everybody, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and tell some friends about it. We've been getting like 10 subscribers a day, which I'm really excited about. So please do spread the word. Daniel says, boot camps do encourage you to qualify for jobs that we're not really qualified for, like 2 to 3 years of experience. Yeah, I always tell people, like, if the job is asking for 3 and you have 2, okay, go for it. Maybe there's flexibility there. But if you have 0 and we're asking for 5, I feel like that's not the right application to send in. Jamie says sometimes job descriptions are way above their actual requirement bar, which is also super annoying. Yeah, I think that's really what Bobby is saying. Something that came up in the Slack channel a few weeks ago, I don't know if anybody remembers, was a few people had been scammed with some jobs. And, you know, I don't know if anybody wants to speak to themselves or say it happened to a friend, but does anybody want to speak to some of the troubles we've had with, I know one person wrote in and said they were hanging out on Angel List, which is where a lot of startups are, and they found that they were getting these emails like, you've been selected to be a UX designer at such and such company, and now we need your personal information to start this job. And it was really just kind of an identity theft scam. They didn't even have an interview. So anybody comfortable talking about any scams that they would like to warn the audience against?
Yes.
Oh. Kayla?
Sorry, for my own part, just beware that if you're doing like freelance or consulting work with payments, they'll never overpay you. Don't fall for that. It's definitely a trick. And just so everyone knows, checks take 3 weeks to clear. I did not know that because who uses checks anymore? Some people still do.
So true. Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. So, unfortunately, common scam is for, and this could be anything. It might not be freelance work. It could be, I want to buy the item you put on Craigslist. You know, it's just a common scam in general, and that is, let's say you're going to do $2,000 of work for someone. They say, well, I'm going to send you a check, and this is really probably more American, where checks are still commonly used here in Italy. I don't think anyone's seen a check in some time, but in America, they'll say, oh, I'm going to send you a check, but, you know, we agreed on $2,000, but I'm going to send you $3,000, and I need you to send me the $1,000 difference. Now, again, when you feel desperate for work or excited about work, you might feel like, yeah, whatever, I'll just take this work because, hey, I'm going to get $2,000. But the problem is that very often these checks are fake, and the banks don't know it for a good 3 weeks or so. And the problem is you've already sent that $1,000 to that person, and then the check bounces and you don't have the money and you've lost the money that you sent to that person. So everybody just be very careful. Remember our episode from a couple of weeks ago with the lawyer where we talked about legal issues and making sure you have signed contracts with people. And then my policy, when I learned that checks take 3 weeks to clear, I started telling people, I put into my contract that work doesn't start until your payment clears my account. So that's different than payment made. Payment cleared. I put that in my contract. And so now that means if you send me a check, I will start your work in 3 weeks. Now, nobody liked that. So instead, they would, I take credit cards, so I would charge people's cards, or some people would wire the money, do a bank wire. So please, please be careful. We've got some people commenting about this. Of course, Shriva says, nice to see you all. Grace says, I got a scam email and they asked me to purchase a laptop and start a job. Now she says LOL, but I've seen this happen. I've seen people on LinkedIn writing about this, that they got fooled into being told they were being given a job and to start buying things. And sometimes they were told what website to buy it from. And that person made that sale. Really wacky stuff. And Shrivas says, recruiter scams are a big issue. Many times I've had recruiters reach out to me from companies that had little or no history online. Anna says, I'm seeing junior or entry-level roles, and then they ask for 2 or more years of experience. That's difficult to maneuver. Larry says, to Bobby's point, we asked for 3 years of experience, but hired someone right out of a boot camp because they had previous research experience, and it worked out well. Let me circle back to Bobby. Are you finding any scams that you've bumped into, whether or not you fell for them?
I haven't really seen any scams myself, but I do know of at least one friend that had a similar scam that Grace talked about. Though I think it might have been more involved because they had like an actual interview process sort of thing, though it was like a texting interview, which might be another red flag, but also like but also it takes advantage of people that are really desperate as well to get a job, and people will miss those kind of red flags or will excuse it for some other reason and not really think straight about it, about could this be a scam, because it's too good to believe it's true. And yeah, and it's really unfortunate that they do send them a specific place to buy like a laptop or an iPhone for the work for like a UX designer kind of role, but to be able to do a mock-up with or to be able to test it on the actual device, they'll say, but there's actually no phone, and they just sent money to a place that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's even a more interesting point. We don't know if that happened with Grace, where they ask you to purchase a laptop. You might send the money and get nothing, and then these people don't exist. That's some scary stuff. So, yeah, everybody be careful. The person in our Slack who reported the other scam where they were just like, you've been selected to get this job, and the job, they named a well-known company, but there were some definite weird things in the email that nobody would ever say, but you could tell it was meant to prey on millennials in a sense, because it was like, you're going to change the world. And I was like, I know the company they're pretending to be. This company helps companies sell subscriptions. Don't think you're going to change the world. This isn't curing cancer. This is selling subscriptions.
I mean,
so look out for that inflated language.
Yeah. They'll also change the world can mean many different things. It can mean something very small, technically change the world. So
I think it was written to, because it's, at least the stereotype is like, oh, millennials really want to change the world. They want to work in socially good places. And I'm like, this company isn't changing the world. They're selling subscriptions. Hello. Hello, not Kennel Club member. You are a cat. Hello, friendly orange cat. For those of you not looking at the screen, there is a friendly orange cat walking by. And now tail in face, which of course is a good cat trick. Any questions from the chat room? We've got over 20 people watching live right now, so I know this is a topic of interest to a lot of people. Anybody in the chat room want to share their experiences? Otherwise, we've only got about 10 minutes left to the show. See how fast that went? So maybe we can just kind of go around a little bit, and everybody take a little bit of time. First of all, let us know where we can find you or follow you or connect with you, and let's get some final advice that you might want to give to the job seekers. Kayla?
Yes. Well, first off, you can find me on LinkedIn, just Kayla Thompson. Please feel free to connect. I love adding new connections and meeting new people. You can also find my cat on Instagram, Yui Rose the cat. Give her a follow over there. And any final advice is, don't give up. I know it's very generic advice. Also, just be kind of aware of patterns. Just as you're going along, learn what works, what doesn't work. Kind of pay attention to those sometimes subtle patterns. I know when I first started seeking a job, my entire approach was way different than near the end when I actually was able to find one.
Yeah, and Anna, we see your question. We'll take a look at that after we let everybody give their last advice and where we. I-10, where can we find you and track you down?
You can find me anywhere, anywhere. I'm everywhere from Pinterest to Tumblr to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Tinder, Bumble, everywhere. Find me everywhere.
So looking for a date
Uh,
as well.
yes, keep swiping.
Keeps-
So my advice would be, I don't know. I think just be genuine. I know it sounds too like cliche and like rainbows and butterflies, but the one thing that I noticed when I was going through interviews is that back in the days when I was young, I was trying to say everything that a recruiter would, or not even a recruiter, like product owner, designer, whoever I'm talking to, would want to hear from me. So if they were asking, for example, if I'm good at design thinking, and if in the job description there was design thinking, I would say yes, even though I hated it, just to get the job. Now I change the strategy. When they ask me about design thinking, I say I don't believe in design thinking. And you can see at first from like on their faces, they're like, what is she saying? Like what is going on here? But I found out that many people, many recruiters, what is happening here? Is
That's
it a
the
new
crying
effect?
rain. Yes.
Oh, nice. But I found out that many recruiters appreciate authenticity and like boldness. So don't try to say things that you don't agree with just to get the job.
Yeah, when someone asks me about design thinking, I say, well, what's your definition of design thinking? And then we
Exactly.
end up having a better conversation than fuck that shit. Bobby, before we get to you, Kayla's raising her hand. Kayla, do you want to add something?
Yes, as far as, being authentic, it is really important because honestly, if you've gotten into a good interview, the company's probably looked at your portfolio and your resume and think you have the skills. They really want to find a culture fit. That's going to be a really big criteria, is fitting in the culture. And this is going to be a place you could potentially work for years. So you do want to be authentic and, kind of show them what they're actually going to get. And the right company will appreciate it.
I agree. That was super. Thank you for that. Bobby, how can we find you and hire you and any advice you have?
Uh, I'm on LinkedIn. I just changed my name back to Bobby Bishop, so it'd be a lot easier to find. Than people seem to like to get the
Well, it's not like you changed your
the
name. We should clear that up for people. You were trying Robert a bit.
alliteration. Yeah, I was trying it, but it just gets really confusing for people, especially people that don't know that Reverend Bobby is a nickname for Robert. So, and yeah, I guess mainly, yeah, as everybody said, be genuine, but also mainly try to find what it is that makes you stand out, and that's something that's really hard to do, and really hard to find something that you actually believe in yourself to actually be better than other people, which can take some time, some soul searching, and trying out different things, and just exploring yourself. But yeah, basically, and yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching, feel free to steal Bobby right out of my apprenticeship program and give him an interview because he's got a great background in psychology and is definitely someone worth talking to. So, just plug there. Otherwise, I'm going to keep him a little
Yeah.
while longer, and then you can steal him. And then Anna asked, best way to gain relevant experience while still working full time that isn't a boot camp or university. Oh my God, that's like best way to lose weight while still eating pizza and doing no exercise. Like how does that work? Okay, so you're working full time. You're not going to go thinking. You're not going. You're not doing a boot camp or uni, which is okay, but you are working full time. I think the question is, do you have extra time that you can make? Because that's certainly time where you can be reading some books, watching some videos, and then trying to find real or sample fake projects to work on, but time and time again, I always recommend that you get a mentor or a coach. You need somebody who's going to look at your work and say, hey, this is going in the right direction, or hey, nice job here, but check this out. You know, it looks like you're not applying this information correctly, or it looks like you didn't understand this concept, or I wonder if you know about this. And so I think that without some sort of mentor or coach that, and again, if you're not doing a uni or a boot camp or somewhere where you would hopefully get that mentoring or coaching, you've got to find that person, otherwise you're guessing at UX, and you're not going to know if you're getting it right. You're not going to know if you're getting better. So I would say that is my main suggestion. And the more realistic your project is, even if it's a fake project, the better it can look in a portfolio, assuming you've done it well. When I look at portfolios, I kind of don't care if the project was fake or real, but I do care if it was done well or not, you know, with good process and good decision making and things like that. Tanya says, I'm not sure if the question is for this episode, but do you have thoughts about Dribbble? They're offering a boot camp, and they say they're the go-to site for UI UX. I would say Dribbble is the go-to site for UI, but I don't think I would say UX. So I'm under the, I think we toured Dribbble's boot camp up a few weeks ago on the Critical Thinking stream. It really just looked like UI. And I think that if you want to learn UI, there's a squillion videos out there that, and I'm not sure you have to pay for a boot camp in it. That's my personal opinion. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bobby, you did the boot camp. Thoughts? Not
I
the
didn't do
Dribbble one.
Not the Dribbble boot camp, but I'd say boot camps in general can be definitely overpriced for what they give you. A lot of the stuff you can find is going to be online as well. The only thing that might be somewhat worth it would be the mentor. But then again, the mentor also has a lot of other people to do as well, and to mentor as well, and you're only paying for a certain amount of their time. They generally are busy people as well, but and if you don't get along with your mentor very well, they won't change it for you, which is unfortunate. I got lucky I got along with my mentor well, but she also didn't have a research background, which was another thing that I was looking for, but yeah.
Great question from Chang. If I see anything research related, I'll send it your way, Bobby. Where are you based? So I think another question that goes with that is, Bobby, I think you're in Georgia, but would you, like I-10, are you an adventurer? Are you willing to move for a job?
Yes, I am willing to move for a job, but within reason, because I have a dog, Franklin, which he just came here.
I just saw Mr.
Want me to show him?
Ciao, Franklin. Always good to see you.
Mr. Franklin. Yeah, I know Franklin. I know. So I don't want to move too far away, where I have to put him on a plane. I think within 800 miles will be fine, or I can do a remote. But yeah, he's a very good boy, and I love him very much. So
keep Bobby and Franklin together, everybody. If you're hiring Bobby, you're getting Franklin too. So yeah. So I guess preferably Georgia, remote, or someplace maybe
within
Bobby can
800
road
miles,
trip to.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
Or going to the eastern coast.
Yeah, but of course you can find Bobby in our Slack channel. So if you want to get in touch with him or you think you have a job, please do send it over. And remember, everybody can join the Slack channel for free. Sorry to cover Bobby. DeltaCX.com/links. Works better when I don't have all these guests. And remember, everybody, to subscribe, spread the word. Quick show notes. A couple of shows coming up, and you can always check the calendar on that link. Critical Thinking stream on Friday. Next week is a little funky because I'm going on vacation on Friday, but next week we have Think Out Loud on Monday. We have Office Hours on Tuesday. We have, Darren canceled on Wednesday, so I'll put something else on Wednesday. We'll go through one of my articles and tear it to pieces. And And we're going to do that on Thursday, too. We'll tear one of my articles to pieces. So, and then I'm going on vacation. So if anybody needs my attention, make sure you get it soon. Well, thank you so much to Kayla and I-10 and Bobby, people you can find in the Slack channel. Add them on LinkedIn, connect with them, network with them, and let's all find each other jobs, everybody. So we're going to say goodbye for now, but have fun, stay safe, and see y'all soon. Bye.
Thank you for having
Bye.
me. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are